we are in week 2 of this series called Out of the Shallows. And if you remember, last week Andrew kicked us off with this idea that we are all seeking depth to get out of the shallows and into the deep with our faith. And if you remember, he gave us this image of the first time you jumped into the deep end of the pool as a kid, right? Maybe you were a little scared, a little nervous, but ultimately you probably jumped in and you were glad and you never wanted to go back. Because the shallows are not where the interesting stuff is. The depths are. And I would actually argue the same is true for our faith. And that's what this whole series is about. Going from shallow to deep, wherever you're at in your spiritual journey. So, I'm Sara Sladky. Nice to meet you all. If you guys could wave at me. Yeah, crowd participation. Yay! Okay, that makes me feel better. So my name is Sara Sladky. I'm on staff at Nazareth Lutheran Church and also a part of the basic staff team. And I'm married to Andrew. Andrew taught last week. This is us. Yeah, woo! We've been married a year. He told you that last week. And this is actually a picture of us from quarantine time. We totally missed the boat on Christmas cards. I guess when you get married, your parents don't do that for you anymore. So we sent a Christmas card in April and sent it to all of our families, and this is what we look like 99% of the time. So now you know who we are, who I am, and that was the guy that shared with us last week. And Andrew kind of talked about this idea that we often come to church hungry, right? Saying, feed me, I want more, nom, 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 nom. As if it's solely the church's job to feed us spiritually. But as we read in Hebrews, we have to quit drinking milk from the bottle and pick up a fork and feed ourselves solid food in our faith. And we also got a really real view of what it looks like when grown people try to drink milk in their faith. So if you're like me, you've almost recovered from seeing Carter drinking milk out of that baby bottle last week. Yeah, if you weren't here, go ahead and just listen to it online. But if you were here, I apologize. But hopefully we've all recovered. But Andrew really brought this idea that we have a role to play in our faith, that we have to pick up a fork to feed ourselves spiritually. So just like we feed ourselves physically, we have to do this spiritually. And since we're kind of talking about food, I want to talk about something that's had a small presence in my life for the last several months. The quarantine 15. Now, if you're not familiar with the quarantine 15, I brought the definition for you. But this reads, the quarantine 15 is the 15 pounds you will inevitably gain as a result of being inside your house for months on end with minimal opportunity for exercise and food being the only cure for your chronic boredom and binge watching of Netflix. It's not on there, but that's what I added that part. But that's the definition from Urban Dictionary. And I read this and I said, how do they know? How do they know? And I don't know about you, maybe that's true for you, but it's definitely true for me because I learned how to use our Instant Pot during quarantine. So chicken fried rice and a cup full of soy sauce. That's what I use. It was a pretty regular meal. In an effort to support our local economy, Andrew and I made frequent takeout visits to the Culver's and got that kids meal with the butter burger, everything on it, minus the tomato, add the fries, get the scoopy, cherry on top. Thank you. Also, we had some Mulligan's Pizza and Wings, Blue Barn Barbecue, just to name a few, right? And I don't really know how, but it felt like Angel Food Cake at Hy-Vee was on sale every week. And I love a good sale. And not to mention all the baking that everyone was doing on Instagram, right? Cookies and Joanna Gaines and sourdough bread starter kits and Instagram food pages. And everyone started a garden and no one knows how to make salsa. And what do? That's where I feel like I was at. So let's just say there was some extra time to focus on food these last few months. And that hasn't really been beneficial for my physique, our physiques, hence the quarantine 15. So, what do we do when we're not satisfied with the way that we look or feel physically? And I think that's a complicated question, right? Because there are a lot of factors to our health, like what we eat and how we exercise and how frequently we exercise, our metabolism. I mean, really, there's a lot of factors to what happens and goes on in our bodies. So to make it really simple for what I want to talk about tonight, I'm going to just break it down into two components: calories in and calories out. Say it with me: calories in, calories out. Yeah, you guys should get a degree in health, whatever, health management, I don't know, health degree. You get one tonight, woo! Okay, so calories in, that's where we're gonna start, okay? This is where the trouble is. Calories in, right? This is a prime location for calorie intake, right? Right here. This is where I finished. Oh, I can't see you guys. Here, I'm gonna pull this down. This is where I finished The Office for the first time ever during quarantine. Round of applause, please. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I ate a plate full of chips and cheese every night as I watched those episodes. And it's also where I consumed a lot of mini cheesecakes from Aldi's. And it's where I ate 90% of our Panda Express takeout meals, right? This couch represents calories in. And it would be really awesome, really great if I could just drop the weight sitting on the couch, right? If I could just lose the 15 by hanging out here, right? It doesn't work like that. I've tried personally, and I promise you, it doesn't work like that. If I'm going to make a change in the way that I look, I can't just keep putting more wavy potato chip calories in my body, can I? No. In, what's the opposite of in? It's kind of on the screen. Out. Yes. I got to do something about it, right? I gotta get some calories out. If I want to change the way that I look, I got to get some calories out. And the way that I do that is by working out. At some point, I got to get off the couch, got to put my tennis shoes on, got to put the Apple Watch on, got to set my move goal real low, right? This is one resistant band. This is all I got, all right? Got to put the resistant band on, and I got to work out. I got to run. I got to go to the gym. I'm really sweating. I got to go to the fitness class. I got to do yoga. I got to work out, right? That's how I cut the calories. What's important, though, is we need the calories in, right? We got to consume some calories so we can get some calories out, right? And maybe I should pay a little bit more attention to the calories that I intake, right? But the idea here is that when our calories out are greater than our calories in, that's when we start to see results, right? That's how you physically change. Your body starts to look better, it starts to feel better, you feel good, you have more energy, more excited. So the concept is pretty simple. Calories in, calories out. But we aren't just here to talk about food and exercise, right? So what about spiritually? What do you do if you don't like the way that you look spiritually? I'd say for most of us, if we don't like the way that we look spiritually, we often go here. We go back to the couch, right? We get 3 Devo plans. We pick 7 different Bible books to read. We go to church on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and worship night and Thursday. We take a break on Friday and Saturday, and we do it all over again. We listen to 12 different podcasts. We buy 3 more books on top of the 7 books that we still haven't read in their Amazon cart just in case they run out. This is where we go, right? We have this idea in our mind. The more that God pours in, the more deep that I'll get. It makes sense. It makes sense that this is where our mind goes. The more God pours into me, the deeper my faith gets. And we need these things like we talked about last week with Andrew, right? We need to feed ourselves. We need Bible study. We need church. We need all that kind of good stuff. Similar to how our bodies need calories. That at some point, we can't just keep consuming more calories. There's something else that we have to do. So I want you to open up your Bibles, and we're going to be in the book of Philippians tonight. So it's kind of towards the back. It's in the New Testament, and this is a letter written to the Philippians, written by the Apostle Paul. So Philippians, we're going to be in chapter 2, starting in verse 12 through 16. So you can just open up there, and we're kind of jump around in the scripture. But so Paul is writing to the people of Philippi, and he's writing to encourage them in their faith, and was also writing to a church that he had actually planted earlier on. So he's in prison at this point, and he planted the church in Philippi, and now he's writing to them and encouraging them and pushing them onward in their faith. If you read the book of Philippians, you'll just see a lot of themes about joy and perseverance. And actually, Paul in this section here is handing the people of Philippi one of the best game plans for their faith in these verses. And actually, I'm going to read the verses backwards tonight because I actually want us to start with the outcome or the results of what Paul is promising to the people of Philippi and ultimately to us today. So if you guys want to go ahead and look at verse 16, it says, "Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky. Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky." You will shine like stars in the universe. Think about that. Think about if you walk outside tonight, not cloudy sky, you see the stars up in the night sky, and they're just beaming, right? They're bright. You can find the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper. That's a really cool visual. That's incredible. And it's a pretty big deal that Paul's saying will shine like stars in the sky, considering how big our universe is, how radiant and beautiful a star is, right? So whatever Paul is talking about before this, he's saying, if you do what I'm about to tell you, this will make you shine spiritually among others. Your personality, your character, your soul, everything about you will become compelling spiritually, and you'll have a faith that shines. So to me, whatever Paul is about to say, it sounds like a pretty good deal if we have an outcome like that. And interestingly enough, Paul brings us back to our idea of calories in and calories out with this amazing game plan he's about to share. So I want us to keep reading. If you want to pop up to verse 13, it reads, "For it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose." For. And oftentimes we'll read for, like the word because. It's kind of synonymous in the Bible. So just reading it as because it is God who works in you to want the right thing and to do the right thing according to his good purpose and his plan. This idea is calories in, my friends. It's God working in you, right? Has anyone in the room ever felt this? Felt God working in you? Maybe yes. Maybe no. Maybe some of you haven't quite put your finger on how God is working in you, and that's okay too. And at Basic, we love to share stories of how God has been working in our lives and in the lives of others around us. And I feel like I've heard countless stories of how God is working in some of your lives in some really great, hard, and crazy times. For some of you, it's listening to a sermon that speaks right to your heart and what you need to hear. That's God working in you. Or through a worship song that gives you words to sing when you can't. That's God working in you. Or maybe someone invited you to hang out during a time when you felt really lonely. That's God working in you. Or maybe you felt compelled to go sit by someone who was sitting by themselves. That's God working in you. Someone who remembered a grandparent was sick, or that your parent got a new job after being unemployed, or a medical condition that finally got diagnosed. Or maybe you read something in a book that changed your mind and heart towards something. Something that made you stop and acknowledge that something new was happening in you, and you felt like God was working in your life, teaching you something, listening to you, meeting you somewhere, urging you to do something. That's calories in, my friends, where you can feel God working in you. Calories in. God working in you. Calories in, right? So this is the game plan of our faith, my friends. Paul is telling us that we have to work out what God is working in us, okay? So, Andrew talked a little bit about last week about calories in, right? Milk to solid food, feeding ourselves, acknowledging God, doing stuff to be closer to God, choosing to move towards God. And that's important. And we need God, and we need to consume calories. But it's only the first part of the game plan. Okay? Tonight is about adding something to balance the calories in. And Paul is saying if we do this, we'll experience depth, my friends. Depth that your heart and soul longs for. So I want us to keep reading. I feel like this is the stuff that's like on the edge of our seats, right? So I want you to look up one more verse, Philippians 2:12. It says, "Therefore, my dear friends, as you have always obeyed," look how Paul talks to these people. "Therefore, my dear friends," he sincerely means this to his people, right? "As you have always obeyed, not only in my presence, not only when I was with you, but now much more in my absence as I'm in prison. Continue to work out your faith, to work out your faith, to work out your salvation." Those words are synonymous, interchangeable, right? To work out your faith and salvation with fear and trembling. And fear and trembling like your life depends on it, right? Work out your faith and your salvation like your life depends on it. For it is God who works in you, and it is the motivation. The motivation. Because God is working in you, you should continue to work out your faith, my friends. And this is the whole picture, right? To work out what God is working in. To work out what God is working in. Paul is telling us we have to work out what God is working in. We have to get up off the couch and put our faith into practice. As believers, as Christians, I think sometimes we spend a lot of time on the couch, consuming and eating and overeating and consuming calories, thinking that's what's going to get us deeper. When God is really sending us out to do stuff in the world, to work out. Paul is saying that it's not enough just to let God work in you. That stuff is meant to be nourishment and energy for you to work out your faith. And if you do that, you will experience depth like you never had before. Paul is saying that a deep faith goes beyond just taking things in. A deep faith needs to be exercised, right? A deep faith needs to be exercised. We can't just sit on the couch and collect knowledge and experiences and theologies and podcasts and worship nights. We have to get up and we have to exercise. We have to work that out. We have to use what God is consuming, what we're consuming here, and then go out and do something with it. To gain spiritual muscles, to bring people to Jesus, to build his kingdom. And as we experience him here on the couch, we also experience him out there working out. So, what does this really look like in our lives? How do we really live this idea out? When I was a sophomore at UNI, I was really comfortable on the couch. I came to Basic, and I had some awesome friends, an unbelievable community, roommates, musical worship, teaching, spring break trips, prayer retreats, weekend camping trips, one-on-one with mentors, like literally so much. And here, I was collecting a lot of experiences, right? I was being poured into, fed comfortably with my potato chips from this couch. There was a point when I actually felt like I was going to leave Basic because I didn't really feel like I was getting enough. That Basic wasn't deep enough for me. And then I had this deep spiritual maturity to me that wasn't being fulfilled. And I remember that fall meeting with Jeff Mickey and Carla Chestnut in the Cedar Falls Starbucks to talk to them about how I'd been feeling. I remember telling them, I'm just not getting a lot out of Basic. It's just really not that deep enough. And the question they asked next, actually, is the only thing I remember from this conversation. They asked, are you serving anywhere? I'd never thought about that before. That didn't even make sense to me at the time, serving. I didn't even know where. I was trying to explain that I wasn't getting enough from Basic and I needed more from them. And they were trying to ask me if I was giving something. But them, Jeff and Carla, asking that question was the invitation that I needed, my friends. They gave me a tangible way to get up from the couch and start working out what God had been working in. They knew I'd been sitting on the couch, consuming, digesting. Consuming, digesting. And I didn't have anywhere to work out what God was working in me. So a few weeks after that, I started serving at Big House, our high school ministry, and I continued to do that actually for 6 years, leading small groups, discovering more of who Jesus was, exercising my faith alongside some incredible high schoolers every week. And I could feel those muscles start to grow. I kept learning about who God was on my own and teaching and learning about who I am in him with others. I experienced the very depth I was seeking. And months before, I was ready to leave Basic, which actually is a story of God at work and God's humor, because here I am now leading this ministry with an incredible staff team, and I would have never thought that many years ago. So what if every time you want to change spiritually, you go to the couch rather than working out? It's not going to happen, right? You're not going to change. But If you decide to make this simple shift, to start doing something about what God is teaching you or how He's working in you, something real and measurable will happen in your faith. So remember earlier when I read Philippians 2:16, it says, "Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky." My friends, this is you. You can and will shine like stars in the universe and in the sky when you match the calories in to the calories out. God working in you and you working out your faith to bless this broken world that we're living in. In the world today, we need lots of grace. We need love. We need generosity. We need to care for each other. We need to listen to each other and love each other. We need to serve one another. And what Paul has been saying from the very beginning is to do something to fill those needs, like love and care, giving your time, grace, your service. And you will shine like stars because people are hungry for the love of God. They're hungry for that light. And a faith that is exercised shines. And when it shines, you notice it, right? It's attractive and it's captivating. Someone sticks out in a crowd, their laughter, their joy, their kindness. That's attractive. And not only does it create depth for you, but it invites someone to experience this faith with you. We not only get to work out what God is working in to experience depth with Him, but we get to continue to shine our light in what can be such a dark and cold world. How cool is that? So now what? Last week, Andrew encouraged us that we need to start feeding ourselves. And this week, I'm asking you if you're working out, what God is working in you. If you're taking those calories in to calories out. And the great thing is that wherever you are spiritually, there's always a next step for you to work out, to take a leap in your faith, to match what God is working in, to what God is working out in your life. So, what is it for you? What is God doing in you that is calling you to get up off the couch and work out? Maybe you need to call someone and apologize. That'll get you deeper. Maybe you need to call someone and forgive them. That'll get you deeper. Maybe you need to love someone. That will surely get you deeper. Listen to someone who believes or thinks differently than you. Or talk with a family member about your faith. And we have a ton of opportunities right here in our midst for you to work out what God is working in. Maybe some of you need to sign up and serve our younger generations, right? Junior high students at Chaos, high school students at Big House, a team here at Basics, taking photos, playing music, greeting others, right? Maybe some of you need to risk what others think about you and invite them to church. Maybe you need to mentor or walk with someone who looks up to you. Or be willing to give your time or money to a cause in the Cedar Valley, like the food bank or relief efforts. Whatever it is, we're called to get up from the couch with all that God has poured on us and into us and put our faith into practice. So for the next few minutes, I want you to close your eyes or bow your heads or just be quiet with yourself. And I want you to ask where God has been inviting you off the couch and into a place where you can work out your faith to shine bright in the dark world and share the love that God has for us. Because I promise that is where you'll find depth.